Hi.
Hello. Hey, Clark. Good to see you.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Parth.
Hey everyone. Hi Meg.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Lauren.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Wish I was seeing you in better circumstances.
Absolutely. Me too.
So, we are going to go ahead and get started. Hi, my name's Meg tonight. My pronouns are she, her. For those of you who don't know me, I am the chair of the board of directors for IGLTA. And as you all know, we're here today to honor the memory of John Tanzella. And as folks start pouring into the call, I want you to really take a look at all of these wonderful, beautiful faces that are on a screen and really look at who is here. We come from all different parts of the world, from different corners of our industry, and honestly, from different chapters of John's life. Some of you on this call have known him for decades, have lived around the corner from him. Some of you once met him and never forgot him, but for certain, everyone who is joining this call loved him and respected him. That's why we're all here. But it's also not an accident because that's who John is. Uh, there's something in queer culture that's kind of a cornerstone of what brings us all together. We call it chosen family. And it's the family that we build when the one that we weren't born into, or the one that we were born into, isn't quite enough, or isn't safe, or simply can't hold everything that we are and how we identify. And that's how we find each other. We show up for each other. We create belonging out of thin air. We find connections that become kin out of just sheer will and beauty that is our beloved queer culture. Um, John understood that more than almost anyone that I've known. And honestly, he built all of us in that image. Yes, as a trade association, but not really. Yes, as a networking organization, but only kind of. As a family, as a global, beautifully messy, sometimes campy, but deeply connected chosen family. And the fact that we are all standing here today, people who might never have ever crossed paths in this beautiful global industry, had we not stumbled across IGLTA, this beautiful organization and family that John built in the image of the world that he wanted to have. The fact that we're all standing here together, people who probably would never have any idea of most of the things that we have all learned, is the most honest eulogy that I could ever imagine for a man like John. On a personal note, he was, for the last 12 years, a mentor. He was a colleague. He was a dear friend. And he believed in me before I quite believed in myself. And he had a way of doing that for people without ever making a show of it. I'm sure almost everyone on this call can think of a time that John supported you or your business or your work or was just there to have a drink or to get a meal. He did all of that with everyone. I had the honor of standing beside him, meeting individual members like you, meeting heads of global corporation, and even meeting heads of state. John did not change, regardless of who he was talking to. He made a show of interest in every individual person. And oftentimes he just quietly opened doors and you stepped inside and he let you walk through many times ahead of him. That is a leader and that is a gift because he made room for everyone. Our team has spent the last few weeks doing a lot of hard but necessary work of leading this organization through an unimaginable loss. And in the middle of it, what has carried me through is you guys, the members, the community, the emails that have come from everywhere from Bangkok to Barcelona to Bogota. The calls, the stories, the people who said, I only met him once, but he changed my life. He changed me too, profoundly and permanently. And one of the things John was most proud of was the IGLTA Foundation. He believed with his whole heart in the next generation of LGBTQ tourism, and I stand as a testament of that. I am the first female chair of the combined board and only the second female chair of the individual boards in the 45-year history of this organization. I am here because he believed in the power of young people in this organization and in our industry. The IGLTA Foundation is dedicated to forging a path forward for young leaders and entrepreneurs, people like me, people like many of you, either in your present or at your past. And in that honor, we have established a John Tanzella Memorial Fellowship Foundation Fund for the foundation. And it will ensure that young people in our community who remind us of everything that we're absolutely fighting for in the first place are going to have access to this industry because of John and the work that he has done. Long after today, long after any of us are here doing this work. That is the legacy that we are leaving, and that is the legacy that John would have wanted. So today we're going to do the hard thing, and we're going to do what chosen families do. We're all gathering together because we're going to remember him. And we're going to laugh, and we're going to cry, and we're going to tell some sassy story that probably he would have cringed at, and we're all going to love it. Because John deserved people who would tell the truth about him. And I can think of no greater group of people on earth more qualified to do that than the folks in this room. I'd like to invite all of you throughout the point of the purpose of this call to share some memories, to think about things that happened with John that you think others should know. But first, I'm going to tell you guys some stories from my memory while you're thinking about yours. And then I'm going to open the call to all of you. I do want to no one is obligated to speak who doesn't want to. People grieve in different ways. I'm going to try to manage this in an orderly fashion because we're going to have about 100 people on this call. So good luck to me. And if you want to share memories just in the chat, there's going to be ongoing conversation there as well. So I'm going to share two stories about John. The first story was when I was invited to join the board of directors. At the time, I was the youngest. I was also the mouthiest, probably. And I wasn't as confident in my position as I am now. And, you know, he and I had a conversation and I was just like, well, do you think I can do it? And he said, I know you can do it. And I was like, you know, I'm going to give this a try. And giving it a try changed the course of my life. Now I'm going to tell you a better story that some of my colleagues might cringe at, but I'm going to tell you anyways because I'm in charge of this call and I can do that. So about 15 years ago, Ewan, I don't know if he's on the call, and I were at IPW in Washington, D.C. And I've told this story in a couple meetings because I just think it's like a testament to who John was. So we stumbled upon a twink, as you do on the sidewalk, walking to a gay bar that was hosting a party for one of our lovely brands. And Ewan, we were sure that this kid was definitely part of the industry. Turns out he was not. He was just existing as gay on the sidewalk. And we decided to take him with us to this party that we were going to. But unfortunately, he didn't have an IPW name badge. So we're like plotting, how are we getting this kid into this party, right? This was quite a while ago. And so we decided we got to come up with somebody who is definitely on the list for this event. Who do we know? Who do we know is definitely going to be on this list? And we all came up with, oh, John. John's name is for sure on this list. So we passed off this kid as John Tanzella and snuck him into this open bar party because that's what you do when you're young and a member of the media. And, you know, fast forward years later, when I am joining the board of IGLTA, I felt really guilty about that. And I was like, John, I got to confess. I got to tell you that I did this. And he just laughed at me and said, you should have told me. I would have given him my name badge. And that's the kind of person that John Tanzella was. He was always down to spread the love for a free open bar. So with that, I would like to open the floor to, oh, well, one more thing. Loanne is going to drop a link into the chat that is a photo memory flood, if you will. A lot of people are adding their personal photos, different memories of John into that. And you guys can, as we're going through the call, take a look at it. Again, not an obligation, but if you would like to, it's a place to be able to share all of those photos. And with that, I am going to open the floor. If anybody would like to speak, just raise your hand. There's a little button at the bottom of your screen where you can do that. And I also want to reference next to the share button, there's a react button. So if you're feeling kind of a sense of closeness with the person that is speaking or agreement, you can react with that button for folks who are speaking. So any brave volunteers to go first? Don't underestimate my ability to wait in a very awkward silence, guys.
Oh, Amy,
Sorry.
I think of John being on a very long business trip around the world. What you're seeing now is the photo stream that the link that I put in the chat is connected to. So it has an unlimited capability for photos. I think we're at over 600 now. So it's been amazing to see these images come in through the years from around the world. And so I really hope that everyone will keep sharing, and we're going to keep building upon this all the way through Seville. Meg, is Billy Colbert on the call? Because he had actually chatted that he wanted to say
I
something.
did see him. Billy,
I
did you
am,
want? Go ahead, Billy.
and I will lead off. I know there will be many, many memories of John, and I could share many, but I'd like to really focus on sort of what I've felt and experienced since he's been gone. Because watching the flood of tributes to John on Facebook and LinkedIn, it really struck me how much people talked about his personal legacy and not the professional legacy. That, um, we all know the Maya Angelou quote about, people will forget what you said and what you do, but people won't forget how you made them feel. And I think what was so extraordinary about John was that he really made everyone feel important. He made everyone feel like they were worthy of his time. He made everyone feel like their perspective and opinion was important. And he made everyone feel welcome in the spaces he created. And, as Meg talked about, the spaces, he was passing through. And I think, particularly for those of us in his age group, but for all of us, as we think about what we want people to think about and say and remember us by when we're gone, we spend a lot of our lives focusing on our professional resume and think of our legacy in terms of the work that we do. But really, what matters to people is the way you make them feel. And I think what I take away from John's legacy is really that, is to never forget that everyone we cross paths with in our lives has a story, has a dream. And whether we are with them for, a dinner or a conference or on a, never ending round the world business trip, um, making sure that we treat other people that way, and being remembered for treating people that way, I think is the most powerful legacy anyone could leave. And I'm grateful for the times that I had that privilege of being with John and feeling important and recognized and seen. Um, and I hope to, I love that photo. I hope to be more like him, in the time that I have left.
That's one of the things that I think really has been echoed in so many people's sentiments about John, about his genuine kindness and welcome. And I feel like he was blessed with this type of personality where he was truly curious and interested in a wide variety of different people and had the ability to make people feel really seen and special. Would anybody else like to share?
Meg, this is John Percy from Niagara Falls. Thank you for your lovely words earlier, and to Billy for your words as well. I so agree with both of you. I wish I'd had more time with John to get to know him. I've only, come into John's life, or John came into mine in the last, probably, I was trying to think this morning, knowing we were having this call, for like the last 10, 15 years. But I think what I admired most was that ability. Once you met him, you were instant friends, not colleagues, not professional colleagues. You were an instant friend. And he had this just way to just envelope you, no matter what was going on, if it was a room of 4 people or 400 or 4,000, to envelope you into his world, into his life, into his realm. And he had such an art uh, and such richness to do that. I was laughing this morning. He had a twinkle. It's all I keep thinking about is the twinkle in his eye that we see in the photographs. You saw it in person, and damn, could he use that to his advantage. I mean, there's one person um, you could never say no to. When John needed a sponsorship or John needed something, you could never tell that man no, because he did it with such finesse, and such cuteness, that you just could never say no to him. Um, I I too was thinking about that this morning, Billy, that uh, we hope all these words will be spoken about all of us when it comes to this point. But if John were living and we had this call, we should have more of these calls probably for all of us before we pass, that we would speak all these words, even more so with him being alive, because he was so real. I know we speak of authenticity. Talk about the most authentic individual walking this planet. It was John Tanzella, and such a person with such depth and richness and love and beauty, and he made he's this industry, I've learned, comes, I think, better than any industry, comes with friendships along the path, along the journey. And to your point, Meg, look at the number of people on this call, the number of people that have written on Facebook and all the social media channels. John made this an industry of friendship and of love, more so than professional colleagues. And so glad to be one of those. I'm glad to have known him, and forever changed for knowing that man, because even though it was a short while, and again, I wish it was longer. So my love to all of you during this tough time, because it has just hit us all so hard, because it's so unfair, but we are all richer and deeper for knowing this beautiful, beautiful creature and beautiful human being. Thank you.
Definitely. And the part about not being able to say no to John is so true. There have been many times in the last couple of weeks where I've like thought about like different conversations or things that I've done to IGLTA, and we were kind of joking about like John's ability to finesse without ever the person knowing the wiser. And then I thought, wait, was I finessed? And I know I was, but I did it with love and wanting to be involved and wanting to be included. And I just wish I had 1 inch of that man's ability and knowledge. There's so many times where he would just remember small details of people's lives and conversations, or he would turn to me and say, "You should know this person and you should know this detail about them." But it was never like who they worked for or their title. It was like their dog's name or like that they just had a kid or something like that. And those are the kind of details that I think he really held in high esteem. And I know that because he was passing them on to me as chairman of the board and not the stuff that you would probably think that he would be passing off to me in these conversations. So beautiful. I see a couple, Joel, did you want to, is your hand up?
Yes. Can you hear me? Well, I just wanted to mention a story that the staff, IGLTA staff knows because I shared it in the past, but I wanted to share it because it changed my life completely. Um, I knew about John many years before knowing him, also IGLTA, because the impact of this is the impact of IGLTA and John's work. So I knew about the mission, everything what IGLTA does, and I of course knew about the CEO, the leader. That's how I saw John before knowing him. So I was in Colombia and I prepared myself. Okay, I started studying tourism. It was my dream. My dream was to contribute to create a better tourism industry for all. And when I went to study in Italy and the convention was in Milan, I said to myself, oh my God, this is the moment. I will go to the convention. I will know them. I will know John. This is a great moment. Let's do it. So I prepared myself like crazy, and the staff knows how I am. Like I like to prepare a lot. I started studying a lot about IGLTA. I wanted to make sure I had this great conversation with John, so I could eventually get the opportunity to work with IGLTA, not even inside IGLTA, but somehow work in any way with IGLTA because I really believed in this mission. So when the opening party in Milan, which was in the Castello Sforzesco, I was there talking to Felipe Cárdenas, the Colombian president of the Diversity Chamber, and out of nowhere, John appeared. Out of nowhere. And I was like, "Huh?" I was not ready for that. I was really not ready for that. I was like, this is the CEO. I was shocked. I was like, okay, hi, Mr. Tanzella. It's a real pleasure to meet you. Super formal. And he was like treating me like as an equal. That's something that I was very impressed. And I saw it in many of the different posts that were in social media after his passing away, that he treated people like people, you know? He was very humble and he makes you feel welcome and he makes you feel important, and I was impressed, so impressed by that. I was meeting my hero, you know, my professional hero, my role, my yeah, let's say yeah, the person I wanted to be in the future. I didn't know at that moment that I was going to be able to work for IGLT. It was 1 year before the European membership manager role was out. And when I applied for it, I also prepared myself again, and I had the opportunity to have a meeting with him as an interview. And he told me, "Oh, it's nice to see you again." So he really remembered who you were, and he really made you feel special. That was his superpower, and I will be always grateful to for him for recognizing who I was. Even though I was a student, you know, I was not the owner of a business. I was not a CEO. I was not a possible partner. I was nobody in that sense. I was just a student, and he treated me like a human being. And you know, we know so many people in this industry, and we all know that there are not so many people like that, like in a real level. He was really human. He was really warm. He was really welcoming. And that's the soul of a GLTA nowadays. And it's because his soul is there. I'm just thankful because he gave me this wonderful opportunity. Not if I was not even European, I was so young, and he still believed in my capabilities. And it's impressive to see how he believed in all of us, in Luan, in Meg, in Amin, in everyone. He really believed in our capabilities, and he trusted us, and he made us to become the best version of ourselves. And I will be always grateful for that. Thank you so much.
That's absolutely beautiful. Thank you. He was very, very human and very, very warm and very welcoming. And he showed that in all of his interactions with us and in his undying passion for the bulldogs and his dog Max and so many other beautiful things about who he was as a person. Is there anyone
I'm
else?
Meg, Clovis.
Clovis.
Yes, I'm here to, to share the same thing. I love John, the way he is, the way he was so close to us in Brazil, in South America. We have to say thank you, John, for everything. Thank you for our convention in Florianopolis. That was amazing. Was the only one in South America until today. We need to change this as soon as possible. And John always is, good friend, good person. Just say thank you to John and thank you to everybody here. Thank you, Maggie, for this opportunity. Beijos do Brasil. Obrigado.
Would anybody else like to speak?
Yeah, Maggie, can I do it since no one else is doing it? I just want to add a couple of things about how incredibly welcoming and imaginative John was. I mean, when I first came to IGLTA, it was just because it was in LA and I was in LA and I came by and John immediately started talking to me and I said, "Oh, John, this is really great. I love it here, but there's no real business reason for me to be here." And John just said to me, "Andrew, you're a buyer. And you should come." And now I am a buyer. That's absolutely true. 10 years later. But he just kind of drew me into the organization. And it's really his spirit that permeates the IGLTA. I hate conventions. I just hate them. I was a professor. I hate academic conventions. They're miserable. I don't even like the other gay travel conventions. I love the IGLTA. And, it's not only John. I saw Loanne there. Hello, Loanne. It's partly you as well. But I saw that Loanne had written that she just came for a part-time job. And it's very much the same thing. I just happened to come in and John drew me into the organization and created a huge relationship. And I also want to say how incredibly lightly he took himself. What other CEO has ever been as warm and funny as John? So John and I were always coming up with some idea, like starting a huge website about gay history for the IGLTA. And at the end of every conversation, I would turn to John and say, "John, now tell me what we agreed to." I would quiz him on what we agreed to because I knew that he had just said yes, 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 and had completely forgotten what we had said. But that's true of every CEO, but what CEO would let you quiz them about it and make him tell you what he'd agreed to? It was so funny. He's a truly great human being. And very, very sad, and we'll miss him enormously. That's all.
Thank you, Andrew. Aurelio, I see you have your hand up. I think you're breaking up a bit. Maybe it's just me.
No, I can't hear you either. Maybe you should come off the beach, Aurelio.
Now, now, no? Can you hear me now?
It's perfect.
Okay. All that just to say Giuseppe had his hand up before me. I want to give it to Giuseppe.
No, no worries, Aurelio. It's your turn after. No worries. Can you speak?
All right. Well then, forgive me if I'm speaking a bit slow and if I might be grabbing some water and clearing my throat. All of that is to heed the emotions. First of all, to echo what everyone else said, John was just like the champion of everyone. He just championed people. He championed like if he believed in you, and I don't think there was anyone he didn't believe in. Let's start with that. Like he believed in almost everyone he crossed that they're capable and that they can achieve something. Um, I've been a member since 2012. My first convention was in LA in 2015. That's where I met Meg and Loanne and pretty much everybody. And he was just a great supporter from the beginning. I mean, I had started in 2012, so I was, independent, sole proprietor, and he just really championed the small guy. And just he was that connector. And you should speak to this person and that person and so on. And as the years progressed and I became more confident in the association and gained more of my own network, he recognized that. And I remember in 2021 in Atlanta speaking to him and during one of the lunch breaks and saying, "Hey, John, um, there are so many advisors in this organization. I wonder if there's something we can do to kind of gather them together or help them, have more of a voice in the organization. Also, we were coming out of COVID and, a way for us to help each other get back on our feet." And he immediately was like, "Why don't you have a roundtable? Why don't you head it? Why don't you like have a discussion with everybody?" And the next year in Milan, I did it. And then I think I did two of them, and then he just continued to promote us small guys. I remember there was another LGBT kind of conference, and he had recommended me and Meg, and we did it with Renato and with Titus from the weekend. And he was just like always pushing people forward, you know? And that's something that I will never forget. And I told Meg after her post and reach out to her, and to echo what a lot of the people are saying is that I just wish that when uh, my time comes that I have half as many people say half as many good things and can leave a quarter of the legacy as a human being as he's left behind. Um, on another note, in regards to just his overall journey and with his sickness, I know a lot of us did not know details, obviously out of respect for him and his family. And we all saw him in Palm Springs, and then a month later we get an email saying he's like super sick and please just, respect what he's going through and we'll keep you updated. And that's all we knew. It wasn't until now that we knew what he had, what it was called, and so on. And I was at an event back in April with Maria Tutucore, who told me that his brother had started a website with updates. So a lot of people didn't even know that. So it was super kind of private, which I completely, understand. Earlier in the month, I was at a conference, LGBT travel conference with Giuseppe and a bunch of other people who are here on the call in Andalusia. They hosted one of their forums, kind of like Lauren does, and they invited a bunch of us, Gary Wapnitsky, who's on here, Shintaro, Thomas from Germany, Aston, Mata, a whole bunch of people. And I had connected with Shintaro, hadn't seen him, we were just like together throughout the whole group. And we were talking about John and just, what a shame. And had we gotten any news? And this was We were there from the 5th to the 9th of June earlier this month. And he told me that his colleague Hiromi was actually going to visit John on that Saturday. And I said, oh, wow, that's great. We were on the way to one of our events. I think it was Torremolinos Pride. We were sitting on the bus together, and I said, Shintaro, I said, when is Hiromi going to visit John? She's like, oh, this afternoon, like with the time change. I said, why don't we record a video and send it to him? And we were sitting together on the bus, and we just like, recorded a little selfie video. Hey, John, look, it's me and Shintaro. We're in Spain, thinking of you, sending you the best wishes, big hugs, love you, hope to see you, in Seville, just, 20 seconds. And we sent it all. And we were just happy that we got to do that. So he forwarded it to Hiromi, and we went about our day. Torremolinos Pride. Then we went to they had this little gay village set up with like a big stage in the distance and stands. And next thing I know, Shintaro comes running over to me and he's like, Hiromi's trying to FaceTime me. She's like, yeah, she's John. And I was like, oh, I didn't know what condition he was in and if that was even possible. And so we moved back towards the entrance, trying to get away from a lot of the noise. And Hiromi FaceTime Shintaro, and she had like a mask on, and she's like, "Hey guys, I'm with him now." And she turns the camera over to him, and no need to get into details, but he was alert, meaning like he had, I believe he had like an apparatus to help with his breathing, whatever. And it was loud, so he couldn't hear us. But we're like waving, and we're like John, 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 and we're like blowing kisses, and he's like making kissy faces back, and he's like had a smile on his face, and I was like, what do I say? And I just like scream into the camera. I said, "Look at you, you're still handsome." You said, and he was like, it was and and I turned the camera to the other, IGLTA members because we were like in a huddle together, and they were looking at everybody, kind of like smiling. And I wanted to share that story for multiple reasons. I'm kind of glad that this platform happened and that I didn't know how to share it online without having other people, strangers and stuff, chime in, like on a post about someone they didn't know anyone about. But I don't know about any of you, but anyone who's experienced um, um, a close person passing from them, I always wonder what their final moments were like. What were they thinking? What were they feeling? And although I don't know what his actual final moments were, I know that 24 hours before, he had a smile on his face. And he felt love. He felt our joy. He felt, our energy, as the picture of us in Milan comes up on the slideshow. Um, and I remember when we hung up the phone, I turned to Shintaro and I was like, wow, like we kind of felt like there was hope. Like, look at him. He was smiling. He was reacting like he was there. Um, and then, unfortunately, our higher power had a different plan and he had left us 24 hours later. But I hope that in recounting this, it brings any of you some sort of peace or solace in his departure to know that in the realm of his final days that he was feeling the love.
Beautiful and well said. Giuseppe?
Wow. As you say, Mag, I think one of the most beautiful things about John is I have lots of memories, of course, as well with all of you. And especially every time when I meet each other, he say ciao ragazzo. He wasn't Italian. He's still Italian, a part of it. But one of the most beautiful things, as you say, Mag, especially you, John was the big supporter, the big fan of our generation, of young generation. And I think John is still believing us. in you and me and other really young people and stay in LGBTQ plus tourism. It was I remember was the first whenever you text a message because you have a doubt or you have a question. I remember I received the message from John just 2 seconds after, was immediately there for you. And every single questions, doubts you have, John was there. And I feel really still feel present. Is present. It's very difficult to talk about because we have a very good memories, and especially last year. I remember was our last lunch we have, of course, an Italian restaurant together in Washington D.C. during the World Pride. And he told me the story about his past, and he spent really good time in DC in the past. John was a very good friend, a very dear friend, but especially was a very loyal supporter. That's really, really important. Supporter for all of us. And I think his legacy still remember for all the time for all of us. And it's very hard because as Aurelio said, I was in Andalusia recently when I received the news, and was very breaking heart because it was impossible to think IGLTA now, the LGBTQ plus tourism, our family, have family because we are family. And he always say that without him, it's very, very hard. But I think it's still present and will be present in Seville in November, of course. And I'm very happy to celebrate his life because we always be celebrate him. We will be always present in our lives, always. And I'm still talking with him, and especially when I have a very hard time or very difficult decision to make, and I say, John, what can I do? What can I say now? Give me a sign, give me all. And I still really face his smile because he always smile. He always say, have a big smile for everyone. Enthusiasm, empathic. That's it. That's my memories about John, and I'm very happy to share with you all. That's it.
Thank you, Giuseppe. Pablo?
Thank you. From Buenos Aires, we want to also honor the memory of John. We met him in the early 2000s when we were still taking our first steps on this journey. And he was the one who extended a hand, the first one, and welcomed us into IGLTA more than 2 decades ago. He opened a door that profoundly shaped our path. John made us part of his great family that is IGLTA. And for that, we will always be grateful for the opportunity, for his personal support, for his generosity, and most of all, for making us feel part of that family, his family. And over all these years, we shared lots of them, lots of moments, lots of projects, gatherings, and mostly dreams. For us, he was a colleague and above all, a friend. So on behalf of Gustavo and me, thank you, John, for your work. Thank you for your friendship and for the legacy you leave in so many people and organizations around the world. Your mark will remain forever in our community. So from Argentina, with affection and with gratitude, thank you, John, Pablo, and Gus. Thank you.
Thank you, Pablo. That's really nice. I think we have about time for maybe 2 more speakers. And then I'm going to hand it to a couple of the staff to talk about kind of moving forward and where the organization is going. So if anyone else is interested in speaking.
Hey, Meg, it's Dan Milisergo. I'm going to put my video on. Excuse the baseball cap. It should be a Georgia Bulldogs cap, right? You know, so many of you have articulated how I feel about John. I know a lot of you, and I'm kind of one of the old timers. I've been retired for 3+ years, and somehow I've always stayed connected with IGLTA. I don't remember when I met John. It's probably 25 years, probably at an industry event. But two things have stuck out that people have mentioned, and I want to share. The twinkle in John's eye has always been there. And I had the privilege of seeing John the Thursday before he passed. And when I was visiting him, flowers arrived from Tanya and her wife. And I read the card to John, and the way his face lit up and the twinkle in his eyes came back, really, that just kind of exemplified what John was all about, that love of life and love of individuals and people. And he was more than a professional colleague. He was a personal friend. And I, like so many of you, will miss him dearly. And I will always remember that twinkle and that smile. So thank you. That's all I really wanted to share.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, well, we are going to hand it over to TJ for just a second to chat about
Tony.
Tony is going to do it first. Oh, excuse me. We're going to hand it over to Tony first. So go ahead, take it away, Mr. Warner.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. From the beginning, it's always so hard. But what I want to say is, from the beginning, when John got ill at first, there was always a support. And some of you had gone to visit him. Some of you reached out to us at IGLTA, me personally, other members of the staff. So I want to thank you for sharing your love of John and your loyalty to IGLTA. The entire team, IGLTA team and IGLTA board, appreciate all the support from all of our members, you, everybody that's on this call and beyond. John leaves behind a legacy that we will move forward and carry on. And the best way to do that is to continue his important work advancing LGBTQ+ travel globally. It was his mission and will continue to be his mission and will continue to be IGLTA Association and Foundation mission moving forward. On that note, I hope to see all of you there in Seville, November 17th to 21st, where we can continue to celebrate his legacy while creating great business connections for our global tourism family. And yes, family has come up so many times in this conversation. It's so true. And John was like the kindest person. I know we all miss John, but moving forward, we have to focus on what would he do? What direction does he want us to go? And I know he was moving in different directions before his passing and before he got ill. And we're going to keep moving forward. And it's going to be with the support of all of you globally to move us in that direction. So thank you for being on this call. And thank you for all the messaging. So I'm going to pass it over to TJ.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. I'm really happy to announce and tell you something that I thought I would tell a quick story about. I've been in the LGBT movement for over 10 years, and before I even met John, I always heard of him as the nicest guy you will ever meet. I mean, he delivered that. And I remember when I first moved to Fort Lauderdale, he took me to coffee, which I didn't realize was my job interview for the IGLTA Foundation. But after we were just getting to know each other after my interview, which apparently I must have nailed because I'm here. But we were talking about places we'd love to travel, and he was asking me where I'd like to travel, and I was like, oh, anywhere but Boston. Man, Boston. Let me tell you something about Boston. I've never met a nice person from Boston. Boston people will always say something to offend you. And I just kept going on, and he just stared at me. And then with deadpan face said, I'm from Boston. And then proceeded to sit for the longest 15 seconds of my life and watch me turn the deepest shade of red I have ever turned. And then burst out laughing, and he could not be consoled with how hard he was laughing at me. But I think that's just a testament to his humor, his forgiveness, luckily, and the way he would believe in people and the things they could do. And I think I speak for everybody on the staff that, man, if you believed in something, he would support you 100%. And I would come to him with bonkers ideas, and he would just say, "Go for it, kid." And I said, "John, I think I have an idea to make us the world's leading LGBTQ capacity building and business development organization." And he would just say, "Go for it, kid." And that's why we have the TUI Future Saver program that supports business owners in emerging destinations. And it's with that spirit and that very project for the future of the tourism industry that the John Tanzella Memorial Fund was created in his honor, and will ensure that we are able to fund the future of LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs in emerging destinations. So with that, I'm going to put in the link in the chat, the link to donate to his fund. Any dollar amount is welcomed and will help shape the future and support the IGLTA Foundation. And this is by far now the most important project I will ever get to work on for the foundation. So I thank you for that. And it is not lost on me that Paul Griffin from Meet Boston is here, who's an incredible supporter of the IGLTA Foundation. So Paul, shout out to you. You've been an amazing support, and I actually love Boston and Bostonians, so I appreciate you. And with that, I will hand it back over to Meg, and thank you all for this incredible opportunity.
Apologies to the great citizens of Boston. Thank you all so much for joining us and sharing your stories and sharing your memories of John and the incredible work that he did, but also the just loving and generous and kind person that he was. I view it as my honor and my duty to be able to continue his legacy and continue growing this organization that we all love so much. And I hope that you all see that as a little bit part of your duty and legacy as well. So thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate all of you for being here today, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys all in Seville and reconvening our beautiful family in happier circumstances. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Meg.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Hard to say goodbye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us.
photos are so beautiful.
Meg,
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for leading that. That was a really beautiful tribute and probably very hard. So thank you for having the strength and courage to do that.
I appreciate you saying that. It's what he deserved.
We did it a bit John style. We sort of voluntold her.
Classic John.
I mean, the easiest part of this situation is to talk about how wonderful he was.
Agreed.
True.
I think we're all staff now. If there's anybody else who wants to say anything before we get off the call. No question.
Thanks, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was really beautiful, and I think we all needed this, so thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Have a good
Bye.
night.
Bye.
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 Bye.